This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult with your physical or occupational therapist and doctor to know whether or not a device is safe and appropriate for you to use. What's up, guys? Dr. Chuck here from Mobile Physio, where I bring you practical tips and tools to keep you moving with confidence. Today, we're going to do a full review of Drive Medical's new lightweight rollator, the AeroWalk. Overall, it's a fantastic rollator. They do a lot of things right. There is one small design flaw that you'll want to know about before spending your money. If you can't tell, I take rollator reviews really seriously because I know how annoying it can be to buy the wrong one. So hopefully after this video, you'll feel confident knowing whether or not the AeroWalk rollator is right for you. We are going to cover everything in this video, from the wheels to the storage to the brakes and a couple other things that you might have never thought of. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video so that you don't miss anything and there's no surprises. In this video, I'll be comparing the AeroWalk to the traditional Drive Medical rollator, and I'm not knocking the traditional rollator. It's a great, fantastic budget option, but there is a reason that the AeroWalk is more expensive and more of a premium option. So I'm simply using the traditional one as comparison to show you what the AeroWalk has to offer. Quick disclosure, Drive Medical sent me this rollator to review. They're not paying me for this video, and all opinions are my own. First, we'll look at the specs. The maximum user weight is 330 pounds. The handle height ranges from 31.5 inches at its lowest to 37.25 inches at its highest. The last thing you want to do is have a walker that's either too high or too low for you, so this is important to look at. And handle height is way more important than user height, okay? I'm 5'7". That's less important than what I want my handle height to be at, okay? What you can do is, if you use a rollator already at home, or a walker, or even a cane, just measure from the ground up to the top of the handle. So, put the tape measure down, get this measurement right here, and then that'll tell you if what you need falls within the range, the handle height range of the AeroWalk. And that goes with any walker. That's a trick you can do. And if you don't use a walker at all, stand up nice and tall, drop your arms by your side, have somebody measure from the ground up to where your wrist crease is when your arm is by your side. Don't put it up like you're holding a rollator. Just put it by your side and measure where your wrist crease is, and then take that measurement and see if it falls within the handle height range, okay? That's a quick and dirty trick. It's just an estimate, but that can give you an idea as to if your wrist height or your walker height falls within the range of the AeroWalk. Next, we got to make sure you can comfortably sit and fit in the rollator seat. So the seat itself is about 17.5 inches, and the handle height width between the two handles is also about 17.5. There's this little projection that comes out here that puts it a little bit under 17 inches, about 16.5 inches right here. So that's obviously a super important consideration when you're trying to figure out, are you going to be able to fit and sit comfortably in between 17.5 inches? So that's definitely an important consideration. Another important measurement you want to be aware of is the seat height, how high the seat is from the ground. This is the 23-inch model. Now, I heard that there's a 20-inch model. I don't have that one right now. I'm going to have to go online and see where you can get that one. But this is the 23-inch model. It's currently the only one that I see on Amazon. And when I measure to the outside, that's where I get 23 inches. If I measure in the middle, the seat kind of, sags a little bit. It's fabric, so I get more like 22 inches there. The point is that matters because that will determine whether your feet rest on the ground, just the toes, or if they're, dangling, or if your feet are flat on the ground. It depends how tall you are. So, if you have a lower seat height, it's going to be easier for your feet to touch the ground. If you're shorter, if you're taller, obviously taller seat heights are fine. I am 5'7", and if I scoot back with my back against the backrest, my toes are lightly touching the ground. So, it's not terrible for me. I could scoot forward a little bit. I'll be off of the backrest, and now my feet are flush on the ground. Or, if I want to be a little more comfortable in this specific one, I could just put my feet up here. These nice big wheels are a nice little temporary resting spot. But anyway, that is something to consider. So maybe measure some of the chairs that you sit in at home to see where you fall in this spectrum. Again, I will try and find a link for the 20-inch versions, so check the description below. But in the meantime, right now on Amazon at the time of this video, February 2026, I'm only seeing the 23-inch version. So something to keep in mind for sure. All right, now that we got the specs out of the way, you should have an idea as to whether or not the AeroWalk is going to be an appropriate fit and size for you or not. Next, let's get into the quality of the AeroWalk and how it actually performs. First, let's talk about the handling and how the AeroWalk maneuvers, okay? Let me tell you right up front, 10 out of 10 maneuverability and handling, okay? When I take a rollator for the first time, I go like this. I do a little figure eight, and that helps me test the wheels and how they swivel and if there's any like jerkiness when you're turning. And this thing is just buttery smooth. Not only does it cruise on smooth surfaces, but it's an absolute champ on outdoor surfaces. I was especially impressed at how well it navigated grass and uneven gravel. The larger wheels in the front really help navigate this uneven terrain. Now the AeroWalk over here, as you can see, has a big wheel in the front. These are 10 inches. The back wheels are 8 inches in diameter. And this is the traditional drive medical rollator over here. These are about 8 inches each, I believe, similar to the back wheels. But this extra big front wheel of the AeroWalk really helps with navigating uneven surfaces. The wheels are firm, but they do have some compression to them, which also contributes to having a smooth ride and doing well on outdoor surfaces. This is in contrast to the traditional rollator wheels that don't compress at all, and they're a hard plastic, which just leads to a little bit of a more bumpy ride. One thing I noticed while I've been filming this video is how much quieter the AeroWalk is compared to the traditional drive medical rollator. So I'm going to do a little sound test for you. Okay, I'm going to put my mic down by the wheels of each rollator, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. All right, now I'm gonna put the mic down at the same spot. I don't hear anything. Yeah, so basically the AeroWalk is a ninja. I don't know if you could tell, but that thing is super quiet. And you know, if you have a lot of hardwood floors in your house, you might like having something just real quiet and smooth like this. Next, let's talk about the frame design of the AeroWalk and the stability that it provides. As you can see here, the frame kicks back like that. It kind of kicks backwards. And what that ultimately does is give you more distance between the seat and the back wheels. Now, if we compare that to the traditional drive rollator, you see we got this much space, okay? And then here we have more space. The reason that space is nice is it lets you step inside the frame a little bit more without coming in contact with the seat every step. The more inside the basis support you are of a walker, the more stability it provides. That's why these traditional aluminum walkers are so popular after like a knee replacement or when you have to really bear weight through your arms, okay? You can step the full way inside of these walkers. That's why they're so stable, because you can push straight down as compared to the traditional rollator here. Since you don't have as much room, if you try to get inside it, you start hitting the seat, and then because of that, you have to keep it out more in front of you. And then if you do put weight through it, that's when it can tend to go out away from you. So having that extra space and being able to get up inside it a little bit more, again, this is what I call a step inside frame. This is great for stability, and it lets you put a little bit more weight through your arms if you need to do that compared to traditional rollators. All right, now speaking of putting a little bit of weight through your arms when you're using the a walker, the AeroWalk here has this little projection, this little shelf that kind of sticks out, and it's like a nice little platform to put your palm and disperse the force a little bit, rather than all of it going through like a smaller area and maybe, you know, hurting your hand or making your hand sore. You know, again, that's beneficial only if you're somebody who needs to lean on it a little bit more and push down. It's got that nice little, let me see if I can give you a better angle, little palm shelf there. It's great. It's fantastic. And it is like you can push on it. It's a little soft. It's not completely hard plastic. So these handles are fantastic. Now, the only thing I think they could have done better with this rollator is the storage, okay? And you're going to want to pay attention to this if you use the storage a lot. There's a little front pocket here, which you can put small objects. And then there is a bigger compartment here that you can put much bigger objects. The only problem is to get to the compartment, you have to reach down through the seat and the backrest, which that's fine. That's fairly normal for some rollators. But when you flip it open like this, you only have about half of the opening for the storage exposed, okay? So let me see if I can show you that. See how the rest of it's like under, I have to like lift the seat up to get the whole way in there, okay? So if you want to put bigger objects like a gallon of milk or, you know, shoes or something like that, you only really have access to that much there. So if storage is really important to you, especially bigger objects, that's going to be something you want to consider. I mean, this is probably maybe let me see if I can zoom out. That's probably like 3 inches right there compared to the full, I don't know, 5 5 or 6 inches that it's available. So again, it's something to consider. If you're putting something smaller like a water bottle, you know, that would fit through there pretty easily. You can reach down and grab it. And if you didn't even want to use the storage, you could just take this little fabric piece here and take it off the hook on either side. It comes right off. So you could just slip that off and not even have the bag. I suppose if you're crafty too, you could take this bag off and put it in the front so that it was facing you, so it was a little more accessible. You know, maybe you want to modify it that way or put your own bag on there, but that's definitely something to consider. Now it does fold up still, okay, even with the bag on. So let me show you that. By the way, this is an X frame. I don't know if you can see that. Let me flip this bag up here. Okay, this is an X frame rollator, which means it folds up side to side instead of front to back. You're going to see this X collapse here as I pull up. Okay, so I'm pulling up and then I can push it closed, and then there's a little hook here. I can just put that there so it doesn't unfold. And the great thing about X frames is the rollator stays standing. So if you're in a restaurant or something, you can just, you know, put this to the side and put it in the corner and it's staying standing, versus the traditional rollators, usually, well, almost all of them, when you fold them up, they don't stay standing, they open back up. And if you want to keep them standing, you have to like lean them. Let me see if I can get this one here. Lean them up against, oh, I got to put the brakes on. Okay, so yeah, you got to put the brakes on and then lean it up against a wall or something like that, which is fine, you know, but that is a really nice benefit to X-frame rollators. I also personally think from a body mechanics standpoint, when you have an X-frame rollator folded to the side like this, it's just a little bit easier to lift. You can hold it closer to your body a lot easier, like so, okay? Again, traditional rollators, you know, you can still have good body mechanics with these. You can still grab them down here, keep them close, okay? But it's just a little bit more of an awkward object, I think, than having a more compact X-frame. Speaking of lifting the AeroWalk, it weighs about 15 pounds, which is a couple pounds lighter than traditional rollators, and that couple pounds does make a difference. Even though it's lighter, you're still going to want to keep it close to your body with proper body mechanics. 15 pounds is still 15 pounds though, so one of my favorite ways to minimize the lifting requirement is to use a bumper cover, and then you lean the rollator up against it and then do more of a lift and slide, and the trunk kind of helps you out so you don't have to lift it as much. And then lifting it out is super easy. You just drop the bumper cover and then let gravity take over and slide that rollator down. You just have to control it. The brakes are pretty standard for a rollator. You know, you just squeeze them to operate them, push down to lock them before you sit, and then pop them off before you go and you're on your way. Now, if you have really weak hands or painful hands, I still find squeezing the brakes on the AeroWalk to be relatively easy. Also, pushing down to lock it is pretty easy. The tough part is spanning your hand from the handle to the brake here and squeezing and popping it off. It is still pretty easy, but if you have like really weak hands, really painful hands, you might struggle doing that. So what you could do is just use two hands. So if I'm standing here, okay, the brakes are on, I would maybe suggest putting a hand on the handle here and then just pulling up with your other hand. Okay, that's going to be easier for somebody with weak and painful hands than spanning that whole distance. But something to consider. Overall, I think they're very manageable brakes. Now, like a lot of premium rollators on the market, the brake cables do go up into the frame and they're hidden, so they're less likely to get snagged as compared to the traditional rollator where the brake cables are exposed and just a little more likely to get snagged. Now, if you really value having a cushiony seat, this is something you want to consider because the AeroWalk, it's just a very basic canvas seat, okay? So I would say that's best for sitting down temporarily, or I don't know if you carry a cushion with you, that might make it more comfortable, but it is a basic canvas seat compared to, you know, the Drive Medical traditional rollator has that nice plush cushiony seat, okay? So there's another important thing to consider depending on what's important to you. The backrest is a strap that goes around your low back in a similar position to the traditional rollator. It is a strap that's a couple inches wide there, and the material is somewhat plush. So if I push on it, you can compress it a little bit, which is some good comfort. And you can also adjust the backrest one notch further back or keep it where it's at right now. Basically, it allows you to sit a little bit deeper or more shallow. So let me just show you here. You push this and then pull out and you'll hear a click. And then you can do that on the other side too. So it does allow you to sit, adjust how deep you're sitting depending on your body size. Now, last but not least, let's talk about how the AeroWalk navigates curb steps. Now, since it's relatively lightweight, you can lift it up like I just did there. And same thing when you're coming down, you can just lift it, which is a common technique people use. However, again, 15 pounds is still 15 pounds, and to minimize lifting, the AeroWalk has one of those little pedals that you can push on it and pop a wheelie to get the front wheels up onto the curb step and then lift the back wheels up. Using these little pedals can help give you leverage and minimize the lifting requirement. However, you have to make sure you're doing it correctly, and there are different techniques, so always check with your physical therapist to see which technique is right for you. All right, guys, so that is the Drive AeroWalk Rollator. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It just helps me keep growing my channel and bringing you videos just like this. If you're interested in the AeroWalk, the link is down in the description below. And if you have any questions, please drop a comment. I try and respond to everybody. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.